47 videos, well over 10 hours of previews, reviews, all that fun stuff just for you guys. And here, this is a summary of everything for Rogue Angels Legacy of Burning Sun. Welcome back. This is Board Game Officer. So today I have watched almost 50 videos, almost 50 stinking videos. There was 47 videos of Rogue Angel reviews, previews, playthroughs, interviews, all the deal. It took me a while, I'll just say that. Given I did watch most of it at like 1.5 to 2 speed, right? Just to get through it anyways. So, also just as a little caveat, this one's gonna be a little different than my other review of reviews because my kids happened to break my laptop with dumping water all over it. So therefore, I'm kind of using my 2 phones and my in-laws' laptop and all kind of a mixture because I don't have my normal setup. So I apologize if this is a little weird, but I am rolling with it. So first thing I like to do with these is I'm going to actually do a quick review of the Kickstarter itself. And then we'll kind of get into the actual, what people are saying, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all that stuff, right? So once again, I don't have my actual laptop, so I'm actually going to be using my phone. So the screen will be a little different, but so we have Rogue Angels. As you see, here's my phone here. That I'll be kind of showing the screen here as well. But so we already have 115,000. This is the second go around for Rogue Angels. First one only funded about 30,000 with about 500 backers. And now we're at almost 1,500 backers and well over 100,000 in US dollars funded already. This is doing very, very well, and for a reason, which we'll get into here in a second. Basically telling you about the game, the choices that you can make. It is 1 to 4 players, 16 plus from 60 to 120 minutes. It is 16 plus just because it kind of can get a little gruesome, but it's overall not too bad, at least from what I have played so far. It's not super gruesome, but that is just something to know that the story can be a little gruesome. We go down here, just a lot of more quotes and pictures. The experience talks about the 16 different heroes, 1,000 pages of story. You got 80 plus mission choices. You got personalities and relationships. You got unique cooldown mechanics, damage cards, hacking or the interaction stuff, behavior-driven enemies. You've got a enemy behavior card that changes throughout the mission of what they do. Upgrade loots, companions even, and pets are included in that. We've got more quotes. What's in the box here? We've got the 1,000 pages of campaign books. We've got a 48-page rule book, 80 plus maps, and these are printed out maps, which is so easy for setup. We got a ship box, which is actually kind of cool. There's the box itself has a part of is the ship and it acts as a part of the map as well, which is pretty cool. We've got all of the heroes, dossiers, their character sheets, their cards, damage, all these things. These things are pretty cool here. The custom bases with dials, those are going to be super handy, I think. And if you see, the enemies have all of their information on their standee themselves. So you don't have all these different cards off to the side of all the enemies and everything. It's really easy to keep track of. Sorry, this is not a review portion. This is, anyways, stretch goals. We've got, 10, 11, 12 stretch goals already going. We're looking for 4 new bosses. That's what we're trying to get right now. And then here comes why this took so long, was we have all the videos. So many review videos. All they go. All right. Then we go into the rulebook. You can look at the rulebook to see, so you could read the rulebook itself. And we got the pledge levels. You got the support. It does have a print and play. That would be a lot to print, but for 15 bucks, that's not bad for this type of play. And it does have a way that if you're doing any type of group backing here, it actually gives you the option of how to do that. Then we have the shipping and VATs here. We got the US at $17 for 1 copy of Rogue Angels. That's not bad. Or 18.5. Let's hope they could stay to that. This is going to be like a 40 pound game because of those thick campaign books. So we'll see what that ending shipping is. I mean, I have hopes, but nowadays I just don't know what to think about these things here. Here we have the projected timeline here. Looks like we've got manufacturing in June of next year. and shipping and to backers September, October of next year. So about a year, which isn't too bad. And because this was actually a second go around, I'm hoping those dates actually are not too bad, just because he's been working at it for this last year anyway. So he's got a lot of it already created. So hopefully those dates will be able to stick. We got the team. You can go to their Discord, Facebook, BGG, and Instagram. And then that's it. Oh, and I didn't mention this is by Sun Tzu Games. And the designer is Emil Larson. All right, so that is the quick down and dirty. Here's what the Kickstarter is. Didn't spend too much time there because I really want to dial in to the good and the bad. Now, I apologize. I do have my notes here. There's so many notes here with all of these videos. So I apologize. I'm going to be looking at my notes quite a bit as I was just looking at my notes when I was talking about that. So I am going to start with the good because there is a lot of good, which is crazy for the... I don't know why this didn't fund the first time, because my good list is like a page and a half and my negative list is like a handful of lines. So first off, everyone really liked the theme, right? Sci-fi board or sci-fi dungeon crawlers aren't super popular. So I think this theme is actually really, really good. The cooldown track, I think, is one of the biggest things in this game that everyone talked about, especially when it first came out. So I watched these videos when it came out last year, all the reviews videos and the review videos that are come out from this Kickstarter. And so back then especially, but now we've seen a little bit more of this cooldown track, like with Oathsworn and stuff. There's other games, but this one really does it different than Oathsworn's, and I really like it. It really changes your tactics because you can't play something that if something's already there. One thing is that it is the solo ability, if that's a word, solo ability, is actually pretty good. Which part of the negatives, you cannot play it true solo. However, playing it multi-handed is not difficult. It's very straightforward and quick turns. So that was kind of a good thing, that playing multi-handed was not a problem. The AI is really, really simple, but very dynamic at the same time, which is really cool because it's hard to kind of get that balance. So the AI is simple. You've got these enemy behavior cards, and every enemy is going to act in that direction or in that way. However, if you do different stuff within the scenario, that enemy behavior card might change. You might go in and they might just be on, lookout. So they're just roaming around. And then as soon as they see you, you're going to change that enemy behavior card, and now they're going to start attacking, right? So it's really cool. It's very dynamic. It's very thematic. I'm pretty sure every single person talked about how cool and how simple that AI is, which kind of goes into that solo ability. I think that's an important thing to play solo, is make sure you're not feeling like you're playing for the enemy as well, rather than just let the enemy do what they're supposed to do real quick, and then you could play your turn. So that was really cool, and really cool to see that everyone talked about that. The replayability is amazing. You've got over 80 scenarios, but in one gameplay, you're going to play about 40 of them, meaning they've got branching storylines. Also, one thing that a lot of people talk about was not only is there branching scenarios, there's branching within a mission of itself. So you'll go in and it'll give you a decision after the first main point. Say, basically, do you want to go this way or do you want to go this way within the mission, within that same scenario? So each scenario might have different outcomes depending on the multiple choices you have within that scenario. And then also you're going to be able to have different missions come up and be available due to those decisions. So, and to talk about that, as not only is there so much scenarios, but even within those scenarios, there is a lot of content, which is awesome. Just for the replayability and the variability during your gameplay is going to be really good. That's what a lot of people talked about a year ago. They were worried about the gameplay feeling the same as you go on throughout each mission, but that is because a year ago, he only had the first 2 chapters out for all the reviewers. Well, now he has the whole first chapter out of 3 or out of 6, and then he's got the 2 other chapters on TTS. So basically you can play chapter 1 through 3 now if you really desire. And so that has really, everyone has talked about how it's not like that at all. It's not a worry. It feels very different. Each scenario, everything is changing. So that is excellent. There has been notes that this is Gloomhaven in space. I heard more of those comments about the Kickstarter a year ago, where I feel like now, just in the last year, there's been so many new games that Gloomhaven in space hasn't been as much of a comment in the newer videos, just because there's so much more out there other than Gloomhaven now. But someone said, I think it was Die Roland, who stated that the phrase Gloomhaven in space really gives this game a disservice, actually, because there's so much more to it. It's not just a simple Gloomhaven, but with a space theme. The next thing that everyone talked about, and I think this is awesome too, is the character creation, both with how you level up, with the personality abilities to change the personality traits that give you different abilities depending on what personality you build for the character. You've got relationships that you could mark off how good a relationship you have with all these different people, which is going to change what you do in the future, who you can be friends with, who you're going to attack rather than be friends with. Like, all of that character individualization is amazing. And the cool thing is, too, if you watch some of my playthroughs, is you'll have these decisions, and whoever the commander of the team is breaks ties. You do whatever the commander says, but well, not whatever the commander says, but you still choose a choice as a team. However, you still mark down who chose what. So even though 3 people chose, yes, let's do this, and one person said, no, let's not do this, right? 3-1, you still, as a team, you do it. But it'll have you mark your personality traits differently. If you chose to not do it, whatever the choice was, you are going to mark something different on your personality trait chart than the other 3, even though you still did it, but because you chose not to, right? So it really creates that individual character, which is amazing. The interaction bag is so very unique, I think, rather than just having it be another action to interact or open a door or unlock a door or something like that. The interaction bag where you have to pull out, you have to match 3. It's really cool because it's something new, it's something different. It kind of really makes the hacking more kind of ability-wise, rather than just being a random action. Once again, another thing that people have talked about is Gloomhaven meets Mass Effect. That's basically, in space, that Mass Effect feeling of the game. I've never played Mass Effect, so I can't expound on that because I have no idea really what Mass Effect is, honestly, other than watching all these videos and everyone talking about how the character building is very similar, the world is very similar, and which I know he does say that's where he got a lot of his inspiration from. Anyways, whatever it was, he did really good at that. Barrett from Meet Me at the Table says, this game has everything I ever wanted in a board game. Which is kind of a high bar, or I don't know, high bar, but that's a high thing to say. Like, that is saying a lot. So if you like Barrett, Meet Me at the Table, if you agree with him, then this game is definitely for you. Something else that people have pointed out is you could change the difficulty level depending on what you want to do, like throughout the game, in between people, because the damage cards, when you get damaged, you could choose the effects of how much that damage is going to hurt you. Essentially, it's got different options there, which is really kind of cool. So if I'm a veteran and I want to play as hard as I can, but my buddy is new, he doesn't want to, we could play different difficulties in that aspect, which is really cool and very unique, I think. It does have a very good fell forward system. It's usually not too punishing initially, right? It's not like, oh, you did bad, so now it's harder. But because you did bad, so now you're weakened, so now it gets harder. But not, because it's harder, you did bad again, so now it's harder. So it's kind of like this escalating difficulty the worse you do. Well, this game's really not like that. It does have negative effects to you if you lose, but they aren't too punishing right off the bat, right? So the game's not gonna get harder if you keep dying or if you keep losing or something. But, which this will kind of get into the negatives as well, it can have detrimental effects in the long run. So you kind of have to, it's that balance of like, yeah, I'm not getting weaker essentially, but I have to be careful because I will get ultimately damaged if I let this go too far. This is kind of a cool mechanic. Now, the next thing are the dice. I think, and everyone talked about how cool the dice are because the dice are not this punishing, like, total luck, roll it, see if you hit or not. But it's like, okay, you're doing this little thing. These dice are just an augmentation. And so the dice are fun, right? Because you're not so worried. I mean, there's sometimes you want the certain augmentation to that card, but ultimately it's like bonuses of like, okay, I know I'm going to do this, but let's see what else I could do. Oh, and then it's like, oh, you get movement, so now you can move. I didn't think about that, but now that I can do that, I want to do that, right? Meaning like it's really kind of a cool, positive thing to roll the dice, right? Another thing is that there's so many characters. There's 16 characters, and they all have that personal, individualized background and story and different hands of cards. They play differently. Given everyone was only given 4 heroes, so everyone has talked about how those 4 heroes felt very different, but no one has played more than those 4 heroes. So that's something that I don't feel like no one really talked about, but I feel like I need to point that out when people talk about like all the characters felt very different, with a caveat, no one played more than 4 characters. But even still within 4 characters, everyone felt pretty different, which is still pretty good. And once again, the personality tokens, the fact that you could use those on cards, that makes your cards feel even more different the further in the game you go. Even if you're not getting new cards all the time, you get more personality traits, which changes what you could do with those cards, which changes what you want to do. So it's really kind of cool upgradability thing. You can get more cards to your deck, but upgrading the card itself can change it as well. This is something a lot of people have said too. It's a very simple and straightforward game. It's very easy to kind of jump on in and start playing. The rulebook is 48 pages, but honestly, I think almost like 15 to 20 pages is just examples, which was really cool because it really just made everything straightforward as you were going through it and understandable. Tank Zone stated that this is one of the best sci-fi games he had ever played, let alone being Dundercaller, but sci-fi game. So that was pretty cool. It talked about didn't write down who said this, but it said that it was fun. And there was a lot of, you kind of have those nail-biting moments, right? So it's not just the super easy game you're going by, but it really puts you in that like, okay, can we do this? Are we going to be able to do this? Right? There's nail-biting moments, which are, those are the fun moments usually. For some of us, at least. The pets and companions are a really, really cool addition that you could do to have to your character. Basically gives your character more abilities, which is really cool. Oh, the maps. The fact that it's just a laid out map and you flip it over makes the setup so much quicker, so much easier to jump on into, get it to the table. I think that is a huge plus. Steve from the Co-op Guild, though they call themselves, of that channel. It used to be One Stop Co-op Shop Streamed, but now it's the Co-op Guild. Steve, he talked about how he had not had a bad play yet. He had played 4 or 5 times, and all times were great and excellent, which is awesome, actually. Especially when usually you play with multiple people, you're usually playing the same scenarios over and over again, and to not have a bad view playing the same scenario over and over, I think is saying something. I think that's good. Something was pretty cool too was the introductions kind of felt like a video game, how it slowly introduced you to things. You've got those cut scenes in the middle of a scenario that you're going through. Really kind of cool. Now this was actually really interesting that, I didn't write down who said this, but you feel like you're getting rewarded for good play rather than being punished for bad play. I think this kind of goes along the lines of what I was saying before about how this escalating difficulty, where it really feels like you're rewarded, where if you do bad, you're not really getting punished too much until later. But you're really feeling like you're getting rewarded for doing good stuff. You're not having to discard cards after doing a good play. You just have to wait more time. But you really don't feel punished. And that's, I think, was a big thing. It was kind of a cool idea. I never heard of it being talked like that. Off-the-shelf board game reviews. He talked about he just felt like a bad A throughout the whole game. Right? Just being able to do a lot of damage. I don't remember what characters he was playing with. I'm sure that changes with what character you are. But he felt like that was a lot of fun. Inspired to Game did name this their play of the year, which is pretty cool. One of company like them that does a lot of reviews. I think that's really cool. Now, one thing, it does say that it's a legacy game. However, they have stated that most, like, the stickers will be removable, the board will be erasable. So it's a legacy in the fact that, like, you're changing the character the way its past goes. However, he's trying to make it so it's easily resettable and without buying a whole new upgrade deck. Not upgrade, but resetting deck or anything. Bauer's Gaming Corner did say that he wanted it. He said that he thinks that they could deliver it, and he gave the Kickstarter a B+. if that means anything to you. And then Board Game Co. Alex did say that he thinks that it's leaning towards holding its value, but just kind of leaning that way, not fully sure yet on that. All right, let's go into the bad, which is a much shorter list here. But first thing is about the pets. The pets and the companions. So the companions give you basically one ability that you could use many times and one mission, once per mission ability. Where the pets give you an ability that you could use multiple times, and then a one-off ability, period, where you have to actually discard that companion or that pet. So you can't use them anymore. So it's like a one-off deal, which sounds... I don't remember who was talking about it. I haven't actually gotten into the pets in my gameplay yet. So I don't know about this. But he was saying, I don't remember who it was, but it felt weird. It felt like he was almost like sacrificing his pet. Like, why would you sacrifice your pet? Like, he's my pet. I'm not going to sacrifice him, right? So that theme felt weird with it. Now, getting into that horrible part that can happen if you lose a lot is your characters can completely die. And that's where the legacy part comes in as well. Is if down the road you get too many of those scar marks on the side of your character board, that character's gone. You can't play him whatsoever anymore. You've got to find a new character. However, you do get to upgrade him to the level that you're at. He's going to have some type of upgrading system of how to do that. But that is to note, right? You're not getting too injured, but at some point you might not even have that character anymore, which could kind of suck. But it's part of the game. It's part of the legacy game, right? But that is something to note. Someone did say that he wants to see a 5-player game. He was kind of talking about this in general for dungeon crawlers, RPG type of games, board games. But that was something to know that, being able to have that 5th player in there would be nice. The map and art can kind of get blendy on some of the things that's gray on gray. So the walls and stuff can be kind of hard to see. Only one person talked about that, so I don't know how big of a deal that would be, but that was noted. One of the questions that someone had was, will all the characters be balanced, right? When you have 16 characters with all different abilities, making sure all of them are balanced and making sure all the combinations of heroes are balanced, right? Because if you have 2 people just like, well, I want that guy and that guy, what if they're not balanced? What if you have 2 support people? Can you still play this game with 2 support characters? Or do you have to have a tank? Do you have to have some hard hitter? Do you have to have that support character? Right? So all that balance is just in question. I think that's hard to know at this point, just because you would have to have someone who's played that much to really know if it is at that point yet. But that was a question or a worry. Also, I believe this question was asked a year ago, but it was, will the story be engaging? Which, watching all the reviews this year, has only been positive reviews about the story and how engaging and brought in it was. There were 3 people and me, I'll put myself into this, that just wanted to keep playing the game, right? And I think the story has a lot to that of, yeah, I want to see what happens next. I want to see what if I do that. Oh, what if I do that? Yeah, what's going to happen next, right? That story really engaging, really can get into it. So I think that's a good thing about this, but that was a question about someone, so I just wanted to point that out. The game does start off really slowly because it is a tutorial, so just beware of that it can seem slow the first 1 or 2, just as a note. Now, this does have to be a lifestyle game. Someone stated because of how long it is, right? 40 different campaigns. You can't just sit down and play it in a month. So with that, okay, are you willing to sit down and read the rule book again 2 months down the road because it's been a couple months since you've played? Are you willing to do that because there's so much to it and a 48-page rule book? You just have to be willing to put that into it because it's such a big game. Someone did say that it would be really cool to see if there was a bag building as well for those interaction and hacking. Like, can you put more of a certain color in there so there's a higher advantage to pull out that color? Or some type of building that you can do in that sense. And last thing they said is that there's no dual layered boards to this. And so a lot of times their pieces would kind of move all over the board. If you watch some of my playthroughs, that kind of happened to me a couple times as well. But that was just that was a thing noted. I don't think dual layer boards are a plan whatsoever, but that is something just to note. All right. Whew. So that is the good and the bad. Now let's talk about who is backing it. I actually got a handful of people who talked about backing it. And we already talked about some of them. Bowers Game Corner saying that he would want it. Tabletop for One, his review was before it went to Kickstarter, but he said he really, really, really wanted it. He even said that it might trump Teneri's Adventures for him in his tier of dungeon crawlers. Die Roland said that it was a must back. Meet Me at the Table obviously is going to back it if he said this checks all the boxes for him. It has everything he wants in a game, right? He's definitely backing it. Steve from Co-op Guild. Oh, and I don't remember her name. I apologize. No, I don't remember. I want to say, I don't know. I'm not going to guess because I know I'm going to get it totally wrong. But she stated to Steve right after playing it, she said, you have to back this game. And that was her not coming from Steve, meaning that even she had so much fun that she wants it. So they're definitely backing it. Dice and Dragons, they said they were going to be backing it. Even the King at Average, he did not say that he was going to back it, but he did say that he really, really enjoyed it. Made it sound like he really wanted it, but I don't know if he's actually backing it. Critical Fell did say that this is one not to miss, meaning I think that means he doesn't want to miss it too. And that is about all that that at least wrote down that stated something about backing it or not. No one said that they did not want this at all. So that is saying something at least. There were no ratings. No one rated it this other than Bowers Gaming Corner as a B+, but that's more of the Kickstarter, so that doesn't really count. But it's because these are previews and reviews, so a lot of people haven't done a lot, so a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to rate it yet. Understandable. All right, now after all of that, should you back this? So you should back it if you like dungeon crawlers, you like sci-fi, if you like games. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. If you like dungeon crawlers, if you like sci-fi games, if you like card mechanics, and if you like Mass Effect. Those were like the four main things that people talked about. Now, if you like those things, that this game might be for you. I would encourage you, I'm going to link all 47 videos down below if it'll let me have that many characters. That actually worries me. I don't know if I'll be able to actually put all of those in the link below, but I'm going to put them down below. I encourage you to go through, look for those people that you know you like and see what they are saying about this, because the only reason to not back this is if you already have 1 million campaign games, right? This is another big campaign game. If you've already got 50 million of these and this is just going to go on your shelf, probably don't really need it. If you're not a big sci-fi fan, then maybe this isn't for you. I struggle to say that because I'm not a big sci-fi game or a sci-fi guy, but I'm loving this game. Right? Like my goal is to play all of chapter 1 before it ends, which is not going to happen, but I am going to have all of chapter 1 up on my channel at some point. Anyway, so I struggle to say that. A lot of people did say that, like, oh, if you don't like sci-fi games, maybe not. But even that, like, you still might want to, because, yeah, anyways, I think the biggest reason is it's just a big game. If you don't want another game on your shelf that's just going to sit there, you probably don't need this. The pricing is not horrible. I don't think the pricing is horrible at all. Alex from Board Game Co. says he thinks it might keep its value, meaning if you end up not liking it, you might be able to sell it and get most of your money back, which I don't think is a bad thing. So overall, I think it's a easy back. That's me coming up now, which most people I listened to also kind of said that same thing, but I also agree. This is an easy back. So hopefully this video is posted within like 48 hours of the Kickstarter ending. So please go ahead. The Kickstarter link will be in the description down below. And please, 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 if you like this was overwhelming. Please subscribe and like and ask for the next review of reviews. These are a lot to take on, but I absolutely love it. And I like doing that for you guys, especially for something like this where it has lists and lists of reviews. But there's like 90 videos altogether, including all languages. So that is Rogue Angels, and I will see you later.